Alright, so welcome to the Clery Football Channel, and today we are going to be looking at the supposed creativity issues that Arsenal are having. And we're going to start right here because there's been absolutely loads made of this exact moment in the Man United-Arsenal game leading up to the equaliser. Sky made a big deal of it on Monday Night Football, Rooney did a segment on Match of the Day, so I'm going to really quickly highlight it for you because it does A, show you something that's wrong, but also B, is getting quite badly misinterpreted. So Man United, you can see they're pressing very aggressively, which at 1-0 down at the Emirates is very, very commendable, but Arsenal do actually outmaneuver them here. Declan Rice shows for a layoff between the press, he gives it to Zubamendi, and then he loses Caicedo with his run into this space. And everybody has latched on to this exact moment because a player of Martin Zubamendi's quality should be able to thread that pass through the press into Rice's run and then get Arsenal moving up the pitch. In fact, if you look at it from the wide angle, that space actually extends all the way to Man United's back line, and carrying that forward would be a really, really good opportunity for them. But of course, he does not take that option. He instead decides to play it safe. Except it isn't safe at all because they're being pressured by Mbeumo and Fernandes. They give that ball away and concede the equaliser. And since the final whistle went on that game, you have constantly been hearing the term risk averse. The thing is, while this is the second time Zubamendi's given the ball away for a goal this season, this is not a him problem. This is an Arsenal problem. They much prefer to keep the ball in these situations rather than making what looks like a risky pass. But for me, situations like this one here are not the problem. In fact, moments like that are incredibly, incredibly rare for Arsenal this season. They've only given away 3 goals as a result of an error like this all season, which has them 12th on this graph, but it's only 1 higher than the bottom team. And when you look at the other teams they're down there with, they have so much more of the ball at the back than almost all of those teams except maybe Liverpool. So if you sort of do that in your head as like mistakes as a percentage of the amount of possession you have, they're actually bottom by miles. Like they've attempted 3,000 more passes than Leeds, 4,000 more passes than Crystal Palace, and haven't made any more mistakes in so doing. So me personally, do not think you can give them a load of grief for being risk averse at the back, because that is just how Arsenal play, and they're really, really good at it. What you can give them a load of grief for, though, is in the final third. Over the last 3 Premier League games, there is no getting away from it. They have hit a bit of a rough patch, and the goals have begun to dry up. And just checking the till very quickly, it shows you it's not just down to bad luck or good goalkeeping, because they've gone from averaging over 20 shots a game in the previous 3 fixtures to averaging just 12 in these. And that's like, I'm not any good at maths, a 40% drop across 2 home games and then away to 17th. But again, I don't necessarily think this is the problem. The real worry comes when you start to look at the quality of those chances. So if we could all just very quickly put our XG pants on. The raw numbers aren't terrible. Their XG has been all right in those 3 fixtures, suggesting that maybe they should have had a few more goals. But when you reduce that to XG purely from open play, you do then see the issue. Those average out at 0.5 per game. Now, just for a little bit of context here, because I know some people are still just don't really like that stat, okay? 0.5 per game as an average would put you this season somewhere between Everton and Burnley in terms of your open play chance generation. And yes, okay, it's only 3 games, and those are 3 tough games sandwiched in between 3 other competitions, but still, that is a worrying run to suddenly go on when your aspirations are literally win the Premier League. And more importantly, when you look at this team here, the reason that is happening has been the same in every one of those games. They are really struggling to break teams down and keep finding themselves playing through a press with ease because they don't take risks here, but then they get into the final third and then run out of ideas for how to penetrate the middle of the pitch. And honestly, every single time I've watched Arsenal in, January, right, I cannot believe how quickly and effectively they can move the ball in their own half compared to how much they then slow it down in the opposition half. But just forget all these numbers for a second, right? Let's look at this in reality. In the first few minutes against Man United, Arsenal scrap a ball that gets Odegaard turned behind the midfield line, which is brilliant. That's exactly where you want him. There is a very small window here where this ball is maybe on. And it is just a fraction of a second, right? But Saka does have the beating of Shaw here. The distance between him and Martinez is too big. Odegaard can see it. He's facing the right way. I don't necessarily think it would definitely come off, but the ability to try it is definitely there. Unsurprisingly, though, he opts not to try that, which I will stress is not a criticism. I don't think it was definitely on. It's just a decision he's made, and instead, he faces the other way and he fires this pass out to the left. And the thing is, this ball is not risk averse. It's not timid football. There's really good vision and execution in that. And I think if you really watch Odegaard, he does try to make things happen a little bit more than people give him credit for. Like, not enough, don't get me wrong, he should do an awful lot more, but he doesn't quite play with the handbrake on as much as people like to say. Like, even this move here ends after he shows for it in a tight area, which is good, and he tries this through ball into Zubimendi, and that's not risk averse. It's a decent idea, it just doesn't come off. But I can feel the heat radiating through the camera here, right? If you think I'm letting him off a bit too lightly there, let's just pop a little pin in it for a couple of minutes, right? We are going to come back to him. Now, forget about the players for 1 second, right? The main problem Arsenal face is one of the inherent problems with the 4-3-3 system, because the fact you haven't got a 10, right, means these 2-8s go into here, you tend to push the fullbacks up, and Arsenal's entire attacking structure is about the rotations in the wide areas between these groups of 3 players. A wide forward, a number 8, and usually a fullback. They get into these positions, and between them, they try and open up the opposition defence to create chances in the centre of the box. It has always been what Arsenal are good at, but there is a real rigidity to it that defences are getting increasingly wise to. When it goes out to the left here, you've got Rice and Capier and Trossard. They start in this configuration, but then they rotate so Rice goes in behind and the defender drops. They're trying to move the defence around to create some space. But the thing is, while all 3 of those players are tremendous, wonderful, magnificent footballers in their own ways, none of them are particularly good at unpicking an organised defence in a really tight area. That's not any of their games. But okay, yes, I hear you. That's not even really their responsibility. Arsenal do have players who are good at that, and they tend to be on this right-hand side, which is usually Odegaard, Saka, and Jurriën Timber. So this is the same move as before, and unable to get down the left-hand side, they work it out to the right. But just look at the situation here. Because they are always trying to do things through the rotations in these triangles, when it gets out there, you've got Saka massively isolated out on the touchline. Timber is being tracked back, so isn't really an option. And realistically, what can Martin Odegaard do from here? In the end, Timber just keeps his run going. Saka tries to feed him, but it goes out of play. And the next time they're in this exact same scenario, Saka does beat his man, but the defenders get their angles right, and there's no cutback option. And yes, you're absolutely right. The mad part is that the goal they get does come from a combination of these 3 players in this area of the pitch. But it's like a stabbed blind cross, a scuffed shot, and a deflected own goal. So you couldn't really say that has opened up Manchester United's defence and created something good. But the thing is, while this wasn't great, it was still all they managed to do. And if you go and look at this game's areas of attack graph, which if you've never seen it before, just shows you like which parts of the pitch do they keep trying to play into, you can see it's massively weighted down this right-hand side. And if you watched it, this won't come as any shock to you whatsoever, because Man United settled in deep, they closed off the space, and devoid of any other ideas, they kept feeding the ball out to Bukayo Saka in the hope he could beat a man 1v1 and open up something that way. Which, I mean, give him his due, he did do on occasion, but not reliably enough to make a number of decent chances. And then later, when they brought Madueke on, the plan was the same. They just kept feeding it to him instead. And what is particularly interesting about this graph here, right, is if you look at the same one for the Nottingham Forest game, and don't worry about the colour, it's just different if you're home or away, right, you will see the weighting is exactly the same. They're still trying to feed that ball out to the right-hand side in the hope that somebody can win a 1v1 and open up a defence. Even though this was Noni Madueke starting, he played 57 minutes before they replaced him with Saka. The personnel change, the idea is the same. They find it so difficult to get any joy down the left-hand side. They almost always just give it to whoever's on the right instead. And it's this bias, this lopsidedness that's making life difficult for them. Most teams now know that if you sit in against Arsenal, when they do come at you, it's almost entirely going to be in this part of the pitch. So the question then is, how do you fix that? And for me, the obvious answer would be personnel. Do you, for example, need to pick both Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi in the games where you know you're going to have a little bit more control? Could you put Rice deeper and have a more dynamic presence up here? Could you maybe try playing Eze out on this left-hand side so that when you do end up forming this triangle here, it's got a little bit more unpredictability to it. He can be a little bit more direct, give defenders more to worry about than, say, Trossard would. Or could you perhaps form your back four in such a way that when these players arrive to support, they are not centre-backs? I know Ricardo Calafiori is very good at this, but he's not here. And our team's really worried about Ben White or Nkapie. Is there not somebody else you could use? Possibly with a double-barreled surname who might offer you a little bit more? And the answer to all of those questions is shit, maybe, but also, obviously, maybe not. Maybe Arteta has looked at this and thought, yeah, okay, I do need to rebalance the attack, but I don't want to unbalance the defence in the process. You would imagine all of these have occurred to him. So instead, for the next best solution, you have to go back to this idea of risk versus reward. And to show you why this is a team problem, right, we've got the wide shot here from the Man United game. And at this moment, Saliba has got Saka screaming for the ball to feet and Timber getting into this space behind the defence. And those are two options that are pretty exciting, but also obviously quite risky. So instead, he doesn't do that and he gives it sideways to Odegaard. But when he does, just for a moment, this option out wide opens up for him. And Declan Rice he's deep, yes, but he is about to go the right way, so you've potentially got a 2v1 out there. But because I presume there is no wide triangle out there to try and set an attack, he does not pass that ball, and instead he just tries to carry it out himself so that he can be the third man. But of course, that doesn't happen, and Buemo cuts it off. The pass winds up going backwards, and there you are, everybody, straight back at square one. Even in just these few seconds, there are three risky but potentially very rewarding options for Arsenal in this move, and they don't chance a single one of them. And the thing is, right, I don't actually think that loads of risky passes should just immediately become Arsenal's game plan. But given they're having problems in the final third, teams are wising up to them at set pieces. We've seen this problem of them getting gummed up down the right-hand side. They do need something else in their back pocket. And because they move the ball so well in their own third, these options are there for them in the final third. They just have to, as a team, take them more often. So yes, those are the numerous causes and potential solutions to Arsenal's creativity crisis. I do not believe it is all Martin Odegaard's fault, but also I do think he is the man best placed to fix it for them. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, and you know, it's no big deal, I mean, I only worked really hard on it, whatever, you can subscribe to us here at the Adam Clery Football Channel, or you can get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, C-L-E-R-Y. Become a channel member would be my advice to you if you want to improve many aspects of your life. You get to tell us what videos we make. We do members-only live streams, lots of fun stuff like that. You can join with the link down below, and that's all the stuff I have to tell you for now. Quick caveat at the end, I've recorded this before their Champions League game, because I am in Paris. So I don't know what that score is going to be. So they win 16-0 there and they look amazing again. Then remember, this is a Premier League problem only. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Goodbye. Still think they'll win the league. Just.